This painting is more disturbing than you might think. And I will tell you exactly why. At first glance, Lady with an Ermine by Leonardo da Vinci seems like just another beautiful Renaissance portrait. You've got a young woman in elegant attire, a soft, serene expression, and an adorably fluffy white animal nestled in her arms. But wait a second. Things start to get weird. That fluffy Ermine? It's not just a random pet. It represents a 37-year-old man who also happens to be the girl's lover. Intrigued yet? Let's dive into this fascinating story. This painting isn't as famous as Da Vinci's Mona Lisa or The Last Supper, but honestly, maybe it should be. I mean, just look at the Ermine. Isn't it cute? Or perhaps a bit disturbing? If you look closely, you'll notice it's oddly muscular. Seriously, is this little guy hitting the Renaissance-era gym? Let's unpack this whole scenario and find out why a powerful duke decided to depict himself as a ripped weasel. Our main character is Cecilia Gallerani, a 16-year-old beauty from a well-educated, though non-aristocratic, family. The Duke of Milan, Ludovico Sforza, decided she would make a lovely mistress. Oh, and did I mention he was engaged to someone else at the time? Classic Duke move. At the time of this portrait, Ludovico was 37, twice her age. But hey, this was the 15th century. Not too many dating apps around, so dukes had to get creative. Cecilia wasn't just pretty. She was a Renaissance woman in every sense. Intelligent, fluent in Latin, and a talented singer, musician, and poet. Basically the kind of girl who would crush it on LinkedIn. But more importantly, she caught the eye of Ludovico, who was a big deal in Milan. Not only was he the Duke, but he also went by the nickname the White Ermine, after receiving the prestigious Order of the Ermine in 1488. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, he was that into weasels. But how did Leonardo da Vinci get wrapped up in all of this? Let's take a little time travel back to 1482, when Leonardo was still hustling for gigs. Picture this: Leonardo sitting at his desk, quill in hand, crafting what might just be the world's first cover letter. In it, he wrote to Ludovico Sforza, pitching himself as more than just an artist. He listed skills like designing bridges, making weapons, and even causing things to go boom. Yes, Da Vinci was a man of many talents, apparently including blowing stuff up. At the very bottom of this Renaissance resume, almost as an afterthought, he casually mentioned that he could paint just as well as any man, whoever he may be. Talk about underselling yourself. Spoiler alert, Leonardo got the job. And while he did make things explode and design cool gadgets, he also created this masterpiece of a painting featuring young Cecilia and her super buff Ermine. Now let's get into the nitty-gritty of this portrait. Cecilia, barely out of her teenage years, is shown from the torso up, dressed in a velvet gown that was all the rage in 1480s Milan. Draped over her shoulder is a bright blue cloak with a slit for her arm, a Renaissance version of the off-the-shoulder look. Black beads hang from her neck, contrasting with her porcelain skin, and her hair is done up in a style called a cozzone, where it's braided and crisscrossed with ribbons. Can you imagine the number of bobby pins that took? Her posture is relaxed yet dignified as she gazes over her shoulder with an alert, almost sly look in her eyes. Maybe she's looking at her lover, Ludovico, who commissioned the painting. Or maybe she's staring down her critics like, yeah, I'm 16 and dating a duke. What about it? But let's not forget the star of the show, the Ermine. This little white creature is snuggled up in her arms, mirroring her gaze, almost like it's her spirit animal. But here's the kicker. The Ermine is Ludovico. Well, kind of. The Duke's nickname was the White Ermine, and this animal, known for its snow-white fur and supposed moral purity, was the perfect metaphor for Ludovico, or at least how he liked to see himself. Fun fact, Leonardo even wrote in his bestiary that the ermine would rather be captured than soil itself in a dirty lair. Sounds like the kind of high-maintenance animal that would insist on organic kibble. But the ermine wasn't just a fancy symbol. It also had a punny connection to Cecilia's last name. In Greek, Gallerani sounds like galet, the word for weasel. Talk about a tailor-made metaphor. The ermine was also a symbol of pregnancy and childbirth in Renaissance art, and, surprise, Cecilia might have been pregnant with Ludovico's child at the time. Who's ready for a plot twist? While Ludovico was clearly head over heels for Cecilia, calling her beautiful as a flower, there was one tiny problem. His fiancée, Beatrice d'Este. Beatrice, understandably, wasn't thrilled about her future husband fathering a child with another woman. She probably wasn't too keen on the idea of Cecilia hanging around the palace either. And sure enough, not long after Ludovico and Beatrice were married, Cecilia was sent packing. Goodbye, palace. Hello? Well, wherever Renaissance mistresses go when they're no longer in favour. Still, Ludovico didn't completely abandon Cecilia. He continued to support her and their son, Cesare, born in 1491. He even arranged for her to marry another man, also conveniently named Ludovico. Let's hope she had a good memory for names. They had 4 more children together, and Cecilia went on to live a long, fulfilling life, pursuing her passions in art, writing, and music. So in the end, she did pretty well for herself. As for Ludovico Sforza, things didn't end so happily. After losing Milan to the French in 1499, he was captured and died in 1508 as a prisoner in a dungeon. Guess things didn't work out quite so well for the white ermine after all. But let's get back to the painting itself, because Lady with an Ermine had quite the adventure over the centuries. After Cecilia likely kept it with her during her life, it disappeared from history for a while, only to resurface in 1800 when Polish Prince Adam Czartoryski bought it while on vacation in Italy. You know, as one does, just picking up a lost Leonardo masterpiece as a souvenir. He gave it to his mother, Isabella, who, brace yourselves, didn't like the background. She thought it was too blue, so she had it painted over in black. Imagine hiring someone to paint over a Da Vinci today. The painting bounced around during various wars and even spent some time in Paris before returning to Poland in 1876. Then, during World War II, it was seized by the Germans, and when it was finally recovered, it had a German soldier's footprint on it. How it survived all this is a small miracle, but thankfully it was restored and now lives happily ever after in the Czartoryski Museum in Kraków, Poland. Oh, and here's a fun fact. When it was returned, it was identified as a painting of someone else entirely, a woman known as La Belle Ferronnière, who was a mistress of King Francis I of France. Oops! That misunderstanding has since been cleared up, and we now know that it was, in fact, Cecilia Gallerani all along. So there you have it. Lady with an Ermine isn't just a pretty portrait, it's a story of love, intrigue, mistaken identity, and one extremely swole weasel. Behind Cecilia Gallerani's calm and serene expression is a tale of Renaissance drama, secret pregnancies, and a duke who thought being represented as an ermine was a good PR move. It's no wonder this painting, once forgotten, is now celebrated as one of Leonardo da Vinci's great masterpieces. And the next time you see it, you'll know that every glance, every fold in her dress, and every little pore on that ermine tells a much deeper and weirder story than meets the eye.